All right. Hey, Facebook Live, and actually, hey, Be the Talk guests. I am really excited to be able to interview you, and I am going to just continue where I left off on that last video. Again, like I said, this is really what normal production would look like without too much of a plan. So let's actually jump right in to some of these pieces, the little agenda items that I have. I mentioned Skype in the previous video. I mentioned the 29-minute time slot. Again, that's plenty of time to get your 15-minute interview in. Maybe we even go a little longer than that. And as long as, okay, I got to throw this in, as long as we are connected on Skype, as long as I have a 50-word bio from you. And the reason I say 50 words is because iTunes, when I upload it to iTunes, at some point I have to edit your bio to make it fit into the very tight parameters that iTunes does that. And I also need to be able to intelligently read your bio to make you look amazing. And I've just been finding that a majority of the time, and I understand this, okay? I understand this. I get it. But it has to do with I'm doing, 10 interviews a day. I'm going to be scaling up to 12, 14, 16 interviews a day. So I need the bios ready to go so that I can read it, practice reading it, and not be doing kind of free editing services like I've been doing for a long time. And, those of you that have podcasts and maybe you're starting out, and I mean, there are a lot of people that I bring on the show that they have much even larger podcasts than I do, but you know that the more you can just trim the things down that you can trim down, delegate the things, and kind of draw some boundary lines, the better it's going to be. So I don't edit bios anymore. All of these things I realize could be taken care of at the time that I review your application. So I'm a few of you watching this right now. I didn't kind of tighten the application pieces, and so that's okay. Just please go back and, it'd be great if you revised your bio, sent me an updated bio, because this all just takes time, and I can't connect with as many people in the few days that I have available in my schedule to actually devote to interviews. So, hope that makes sense. Again, the more that I'm able to delegate these things to you, the more I can focus on making you sound amazing and also look amazing. So speaking of looking amazing, I talk about this in the last video. I talked about this as a podcast with benefits, and I don't mean that to be R-rated or anything like that, certainly, but I mean that there's a visual option that you have when you connect to me during Skype, which is the primary required way that I'm now requiring you to connect to me, and I also need that backup phone number. And if neither of those work, I'm going to send you an email, and if I have to send you an email, that probably means that you're going to need to reschedule just because it's a 29-minute time slot, and I only have about 5 minutes allotted on that front end to be able to connect with you, set everything up, a little bit of small talk. And then if you opt to do Facebook Live, which is probably a question that I should ask ahead of time, except I have very minimal questions that I'm able to ask there in my calendar system. But, pretty much everybody that's jumped on Skype video wants to do a Facebook Live, which is great. I get it, because then it's an instant asset that you can share with your friends, and they can actually share and help you spread your message. They can share for you and with you. And even this week was really the first week where we're breaking 1,000 views a day out from people's Facebook Live videos. So not only do they get some of these are breaking 1,000 views in 1 to 2 days, which is really kind of new progress ground, and it's really for you. It's not so much for me. It's really for you. The other benefit is they don't have to wait, weeks or even months for the podcast episode to go live. Now, what I've been doing, I didn't really tell you this earlier in my emails and my messages, but I'm basically reaching out to a lot of people right now because I'm realizing if I can just fill out the rest of 2018 appointments and podcast interview slots, then I'm going to have so much more bandwidth and mental space to focus on, quality and kind of the art of what we do, and maybe some, the marketing side of what we do, and just new ways to help you impact more people with your message, draw more attention to your TEDx talk. I can do more of that when I have less of the admin stuff. And you're thinking, hey, Nathan, get a virtual assistant. Well, that's going to be coming in due time. Right now, what I'm doing is kind of, I don't even want to say perfecting the model because there's endless minutia that you can have, but we're still in the fairly basic elements of that. So anyhow, social strategy is if you choose to Facebook Live, let me know that, signal that to me, and then I'll, set up the Facebook Live. There's a couple extra things that I have to type in. It does take a minute to do that, but it only takes a minute, and it's well worth it. And then you definitely want to share, and you want to let people know a couple of days ahead of time or a week ahead of time, hey, I'm going to be interviewed. I'm the newest guest of Be the Talk podcast. This is the only podcast that I know of that's 7 day a week going behind the talk. It's very unique. I mean, there are a few other TED or branded talk. Actually, they say TED or TEDx. I say a branded talk. And the reason I do that is because I really kind of feel I'm a little opinionated about this, but maybe before you gave your TEDx talk, maybe somebody reached out to you and you thought there was some kind of, they said, hey, do you want to give a TED talk or a TEDx talk? And then you found out that there was some kind of a, giant fee after they had kind of engaged you in something, instead of just being really upfront about the whole thing. I just think that there may be a drawing in of the tightening of the brand. I think there really should be. So I call it a branded talk. For that reason, that's a little bit of an extra detail about that. So the social strategy is really to utilize not just Facebook Live, but to let people know on social that you're about to be interviewed so that their antenna is up and they're going to be ready to share it with you and for you to help impact more people with your message. I mean, it's really interesting to sit where I'm seating, and I'm somebody, I know how hard it is to impact people. I know how hard it is just to get one person to share something, but I'm also seeing so many of you that have, developing tribes, and they're so passionate, and some people that got the higher numbers, got, very close to or breaking 1,000 views in just 2 or 3 days. They've got multiple shares. And then I look back, and it's not a surprise if they primed the pump and invited their community days in advance to tune in, to share, to be on the lookout. Now, here's another thing that I do to raise awareness of your talk. I do 2 types of videos a week. These have been kind of aggregate, just kind of tag everybody that's going on that week, because Be the Talk is this is really something special that we have going on. Like I said, it's the world's only 7 day a week podcast where we're interviewing the best speakers in the world who have given branded talks on the TED stage, the TEDx stage, Google Talks, Q Ideas, and Idea City are the ones that I call it branded talks because this isn't all, TEDx. There's a bigger world out there. TEDx are the lion's share of that. So, not unusual. Like this week, I think I had 15 interviews. One person, I think a couple people. One person I missed with Skype. And then a second person had a time switch, and it was too late in their time zone, which is a little strange because Calendly will set everything up in whatever time zone you are in. So those were 2 people that have to reschedule, simply because of a Skype snafu, which, Skype is, I'm just warning you, reach out to me in advance, even a couple times, even to the point of being I don't want to, probably shouldn't say to the point of being obnoxious. Don't be obnoxious, but just make sure if we make contact, we're going to connect. And then make sure that things are in your calendar okay. And then, sometimes there are like bona fide emergencies and there's no way to get around that. So I totally understand with that. However, it may take a few weeks to get back on the schedule, and your time is so valuable. I don't want that to happen for you. And I don't want any emergencies for you either. So I'm saying a little prayer for you to protect your, your life and your loved ones and your circumstances and all of that, so that you get on the talk and we can have your interview and there's no rescheduling. So I'm circling around here. I do a preview video on Facebook Live every single week, unless I only have, I think last week I was out of town. I only did 2 interviews that week. But normally I'm doing 12 interviews. I'm doing 15 interviews. In the days to come, there will be easily 20 interviews in a week. There might even be 25. There might even be more than that. I think there will be more than that. And what I do is every single person, if you're on my schedule, I'm going to call your name out, and you don't have to be there on the Facebook Live, but I'm going to mention you. I'm going to mention your talk. I'm going to mention the title of your talk. I'm going to summarize your talk. What it is, the preview video, really keeps me honest in doing my homework on you and your talk. Now, there's a limit to how much I can really, I wouldn't even say that I can study your talk, but I'm certainly reviewing your talk again. Whenever I can, I'm taking a few notes so that I can give you a nice lead-in on your talk. And so that's very important. And then here's the thing. If you reach out to me and link in with me and personal profile, Facebook profile, friend me, not just Be the Talk podcast and not just, Nathan Eckel Be the Talk, but my personal Nathan Eckel profile link, Facebook page, as well as LinkedIn. If you do that, then I can usually live tag you. I can usually do that unless you have settings, and I'm not able to live tag everyone for some reason. But I mean, when I'm able to live tag half the people, or even more than half the people in advance, it is pretty cool stuff, because then more people see this. I will tell you, you know what, I could show you right now. I'm not going to physically show you, but if you go into my LinkedIn right now for the week of, I think it was the 21st or the 24th or whatever of May, you'll see just under, at the time of this recording, I think it's over 3,400 views on LinkedIn, which is pretty freaking amazing, okay? Because on LinkedIn, I was able to tag most of the people, and then there were, actually, I only think one person really shared it, but so many people were tagged. LinkedIn doesn't throttle you back the way that Facebook seems to, and 3,400 people in, under a week, in just a few days, and that's powerful. Now, today I'm going to do a review video talking about all the 15 people, or the 13 people really, that I actually got to interview this week, and talking about what I learned from your interview, not just from your TEDx talk or your branded talk like I do in the preview video. I kind of talk all of you up. But on the review video, I'm able to talk about what I personally learned and what Talk Universe will learn. And so that's a really, really cool thing. I should probably mention, and I probably should have done this earlier, the format of the Be the Talk format. Listen, number one, subscribe and listen to at least 2 or 3 talks. I'm a big proponent, listen double speed. Okay, listen double speed, but just listen to hear the pattern that I've set up, because it's very important. Some people come on the talk, and I can tell who has never listened, and I don't, that's not really a requirement still. It's not a requirement. I'm just happy to interview. You've really, made a remarkable achievement on your talk, so I'm just blessed and honored. However, it's always better if you're familiar. If you just take the 5 minutes, or, well, not 5 minutes, take the 10 minutes okay, to listen to a 20-minute podcast episode double speed once, okay, you will be so much more empowered, because we start out with, I just ask you, summarize the talk. I may say take us behind the talk. What I mean is summarize your TEDx talk or your branded talk. Summarize it in 2 minutes. Please avoid, okay, and some people do this anyway, and, you know, it is what it is, but you'll sound better if you know that a lot of people, they say, well, first I was selected, and then I applied, and then I got paired with it's like so many people in the first 10 or 15 interviews that I did started out that way, and then I changed it. I said, summarize your talk. Okay, so 2-minute, just whatever is top of mind about your talk, that establishes you and reestablishes your authority, your expertise, because it's not that you're on my podcast. You know, it's not about being on the pod. It's about you were on a branded stage, probably a TEDx stage. That's really powerful. I want you to summarize what, you know, not even what got you there, but what you said. And then I'm going to have a conversation with you, and then I'm going to hold true to the integrity of the conversation, the spirit of the conversation we're having. Okay. Now, I have had people on the show, who are, you know, all of us are subject matter experts. All of us are subject matter experts. So, some of these people, and it's kind of obvious to me, they haven't listened to an episode. You know, they're very, very busy people. I get it. Okay. Not a requirement. Not gonna, you know, I'm gonna promote it. I'm gonna publish the talk. I mean, it's all in there. But if you want to have the best interview that you can possibly have, that really makes you look in the best light, not just the smartest. I don't know that it's about being the smartest or being the most expert. It's about, you know, being the most likable, personable, and that's what I'm trying to do with you in this conversation. So it's a conversation, and so I'm going to be asking you questions. I don't know what I'm going to ask you, because, you know, I'm just going to be present to that. And please don't have notes ready. Please don't have papers. Please don't prepare in that way. Whatever you forget to say, it's okay. We're having a conversation. Whatever you remember to say, maybe you were intentional about wanting to say a few, that's okay too. But just don't have the papers, and don't be all freaked out about all that, okay? So we're going to have a summary, 2 minutes, then we're going to have a conversation, all right? I will hold true to that. That means I'm not going to give you gotcha questions. I had one person, they wanted to interview me for their podcast, and they asked me what I thought about the President of the United States here wanting to arm teachers with guns. And I'm like, I don't need to answer that question. That has nothing to do with TEDx Talks or a 7-day-a-week podcast. I'm not going to do that to you. Okay? I already knew not to do that, and just being through a strange experience like that didn't just give me the realization that that's not a good thing to do. It showed me how it felt, how uncomfortable it is to be on the other side. So you're mostly safe with me. I make mistakes. I goof. Sometimes sometimes I'm a normal person, makes mistakes, but I'm not trying to. Okay. I am here to make you look as amazing as you can. All right. Summary, conversation. Then we're going to go to a blitz round. The Blitz Round is a series of either-or questions related to the preparation and the performance of your recent branded talk. So I'm going to ask you, were you selected to speak, or did you apply? I'm going to ask you, were you nervous to speak, or were you in the zone? And it's a kind of rapid fire kind of thing, and it's really, that's the part where you get to give the advice to Talk Universe and really speak to them, because we're pulling for Talk Universe to get the same courage that you got to apply and then get accepted, and then, you know, ideally really hire a coach so that they can give the best talk that they've ever given and do a great job and ultimately change the world. We've had people on this podcast, they changed the world by raising awareness. They changed the world by, you know, I have a psychiatrist, one of the first episodes, who doesn't just care for people with mental illness, but she was once diagnosed and institutionalized with mental and given shock therapy herself, and she came out of the closet about that on her TEDx talk. It was amazing. And then I brought her on the talk, and she shared behind her talk. It was amazing. She changed the world. She is empowering other medical professionals to be open about their own struggles and transparent in a very unforgiving industry where, you make any kind of slight, even if you don't make a mistake. Okay, you do everything perfectly in medicine, people die. Okay, and families are justifiably upset, even though it's many times not their fault, and sometimes it is their fault. There's a lot, medical malpractice is a thing, and every doctor, every board certified doctor out there would tell you it is a thing. But it's like, I want to make you look the best that you can, and she changed the world that way. I had another person change the world. The state of South Carolina changed their laws about incarceration and treatment of the mentally ill who are incarcerated because of this man's TEDx talk. It was absolutely amazing. Listen to Lefford Fate's episode 001. He's number one for a reason, because laws were changed. The state of South Carolina is a more humane state today because he changed the world with his talk. That's what we're rooting to do with Talk Universe. It's absolutely huge what we're doing with them. So that's what we want to do. Then after the Blitz round, the final word of advice. And that's where you give a very short final word of advice, really about 30 seconds is what you want to do. Final thing to remember is I'm now putting commercial breaks in between the Blitz round and also in between the final word of advice. So what I do is I say, hey, in a moment, we've been talking to, John Doe or Jane Doe, and her talk was this, and you can find out more about her, and we'll be back in just a moment with Jane Doe in the Blitz round. And then I'm going to shut up. It's going to be an awkward half a second, and then I'm going to say, hey, we're back with Jane Doe, and it's time for the Blitz round. And I'm going to do the same thing with the final word of advice, and I'll say, and we're back with Jane Doe for the final word of advice. That will be your cue after that little tiny break right there. So anyway, I think what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to make a much shorter video, because I have no idea how long I've gone, and I'm going to go right back around because your time is valuable. Basically, hey folks, I'm an instructional designer. I used to teach this stuff as an adjunct for graduate school up here in Philadelphia at a great private school up here, and so I know the first law of training is that people, have very, very, very limited time to listen to your training. So I'm going to go right back around. I know I can do this a lot shorter, but this will be the extra prepared version. This will be like the bonus version if, for people that want to do this. And I'll find a way to make this downloadable on audio so that you can take it with you in the car and not have to be frozen to your screen. I hate all the video. Don't you hate all the videos that you have to watch instead of just listen to at the gym or, around the track or walking the dog or whatever? Thanks for listening. I'm gonna go back and make this more succinct, and then this will be like the extra credit Facebook Live. Take care, everybody.